Hello, this is Kuntal Chakraborty, Assistant Professor of Electrical Engineering Department, Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management, JIS Group. I'm just going to give an important lecture on permanent magnet moving coil instrument, that is the PMMC instrument. So first I will try to explain the construction. So this is the structure of the PMMC instruments, where we have a permanent magnet, and that is the U-shaped permanent magnet, and here we have an aluminium former in the middle, and that is connected with the moving system and the coil that is wounded on it, and we have a soft iron core that is attached in the middle portion, and this aluminium former is connected with a spindle with a ball bearing arrangement in the upper and lower side, and a pointer that is connected with this spindle. So due to the movement of the aluminium former, the spindle that will move, at the same time the pointer attached with the spindle that is also deflect. So this is the deflection assembly. This is the structure of the deflection assembly, and we have the spring control arrangement here. We actually use two spring in the upper side and the lower side, and due to this movement of the coil there will be some restoring force, and due to that the controlling torque developed. So here we are actually using the spring control arrangement. Now the aluminium former here that is moved through the permanent magnet, so that's why we can use the eddy current damping arrangement. So basically here eddy current damping arrangement is used. So this is the overall structure, where we have soft iron core, vane aluminium core, that is aluminium rectangular type aluminium former is attached here, and spindle is connected, and ball bearings and the pointer. This is the moving system assembly, and two springs are used for the controlling purpose, and eddy current damping is used for the to develop the necessary damping force. So now I'm just going to discuss the working principle. When a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, a force acts on the conductor. So the interaction between the induced field and the field produced by the permanent magnet causes a deflecting torque. Now if you see the structure, here we have a permanent magnet. Due to that we will get some magnetic field, and if a current is flowing through this coil that is wounded on an aluminium former, then there will be some magnetic field. So these two fields that will interact, and due to that there will be some force developed, and there will be some deflection. And basically the deflection depends what amount of current is flowing through this coil. So due to this deflection, the pointer is attached with this deflection assembly, and that pointer that will move into the in one side, and that can be, as there will be some scale, and that deflection can be detected by the scale, what amount of current or voltage we are providing to this kind of instrument or not. So this is the operating principle. So now we will try to develop the deflecting torque equation. When the current flow through the coils, forces acts upon both sides of the coil. So if the coil is carrying a current I, and then the force that will develop on the coil, on a particular coil, that will be equal to BIL. Here the B is the flux density, and L is the length of the coil, and here I, that is the current flowing through it. So that will be equal to BIL. If the number of turns of the former is N, capital N, then the total force acting on it, that will be equal to NBIL. Now the deflecting torque is basically the force and the perpendicular distance, force into perpendicular distance. So here the deflecting torque TD, that will be equal to force into perpendicular distance. So here the force developed, that is NBIL, and the perpendicular distance is the breadth of the coil, that is the B. So now we can write TD is equal to NBIL into B. So now we can write TD, that is equal to NBI into L into B. This is the area of the coil. So now we can replace the area in here in L into B position. So TD, that can be written as NBIA. Now here the N, which is constant, B, that is a magnet flux density of the magnet, permanent magnet, that is also constant, and the area of the coil, that is also constant. So now NBA, that can be written as K, and now we can write TD, that is equal to K into I. Say here K is a constant and K is equal to NBA. So now we can write TD proportional I. Now we will try to develop the controlling torque. For controlling torque, spring is used, that is the TC, which is proportional with the deflection. That controlling torque developed in the system, that will be very much proportional with the deflection of the pointer. So here the angle of deflection is theta, so that's why TC proportional to theta. Now in steady state position, TD, that will be equal to TC. So now we can write TD, which is proportional to theta, that is proportional to NBIA. So now theta, now we can write that is proportional to I, as TD proportional to I and TD is equal to TC, and TC, which is proportional to theta, so we can write theta proportional to I. So the angular displacement is directly proportional to the current, so its scale will be uniform. That will be uniform because as it is proportional with the current. So this is the torque, deflecting torque equation and controlling torque equation of PMMC instruments. Now this I already discussed, the controlling torque that is developed by the phosphor bond hair spring. Basically here we actually use phosphor bond hair spring because of its temperature is very low, and its temperature coefficient is also low. So due to change in temperature, its resistance, that will change very low. So here it also serves two things. One is it will provide the controlling torque, and this is also which is also serves the purpose of leading the current in and out of the coil also. So two springs are spiral in opposite directions to neutralize the effect of the temperature change also. So controlling torque, the spring control arrangement provide a very good and effective manner in this system. And damping torque I already discussed. Here we have a permanent magnet and the aluminum format that will rotate through this permanent magnet. Due to that there will be some eddy current developed. So we can use the eddy current damping system, and that is very efficient damping system, so that the damping force developed in it to provide the necessary damping or oscillation to necessary damping force that will resist the oscillation or the vibration. So this is the damping torque. Now torque weight ratio, which is very important. The torque weight ratio of this system is very low because the coil wounded on an aluminum format, which is very light in weight. So here in case of permanent magnet, the torque weight ratio is very low. If the weight of the deflecting assembly is very high, so due to that if the force is applied, so movement of the deflecting assembly, that will be not easy. So that's why we should have to arrange that kind of arrangement, so that the moving system that should be very low and light in size in weight, so that the torque weight ratio that can be high. Now here a question arises, by using PMMC we can measure only DC, we cannot measure the AC. Why PMMC instruments can measure AC? If a low frequency alternating current is applied to the movable coil of PMMC, the deflection of the pointer would be upper scale for one half of the input cycle and down scale for the next half of the next cycle. Means its frequency, if it is a very low, then the polarity of the signal for AC signal, that will change. One is a positive side, another one is a negative side. Due to that, the deflection will be in the left hand side first and right hand side then. So deflection will be in the both side. But generally we use a frequency which generally 50 to 60 Hertz. For applied frequency of 50 Hertz, the pointer could not follow the rapid variations of these directions of AC currents. So these actually the pointer will be in the 0 position. So that is why PMMC cannot be measured AC. So PMMC instruments are only used for the applications of DC measurement. So these huge variations that cannot be measured by using the PMMC because its frequency is too high, that is the 50 Hertz. So the pointer will be at rest in 0 positions. So we cannot measure any AC value, any current or voltage. So by using this kind of arrangement, only we can measure the DC. Next, the application of PMMC instruments. These instrument can be used as ammeter. So this is the arrangement where this is the ammeter that is connected in series. We can connect a shunt in parallel with this meter to extend the range of this instrument. So here basically a shunt is connected whose resistance is very much small than the instrument's resistance. So here I amount of current is flowing through this meter, and IC amount of current is flowing through this meter, and I amount of current we want to measure that is applied. So IC amount of current is flowing through this meter. So I minus IC amount of current that will flow through this shunt, that is a higher amount of current, and that will not affect to the meter, and that's why the meter that will not damage. So there is no chance for the any problem in this meter. So now we will try to find out how the shunt resistance can be measured and what amount of shunt resistance we have to connect to get the higher amount of current measurement. So now here if we apply the KVL, then RCIC that will be equal to ICRC that will be equal to RS into I minus IC. Now if you try to simplify it, then RS that will be equal to RCIC divided by I minus IC. So RS that can be written as RC into IC divided by IS. IS basically the current through shunt. So now the multiplication power of the shunt that can be given by I by IC that will be equal to 1 plus RC by RS. So RS we can find out, we know the value of RC, that is the meter resistance, we know the value of current through the meter. Now if we choose IS, then obviously we can measure the RS. So here the I, that is that we want to measure the amount of current, that the extended amount of current that we want to measure, and the IC that is the current through the meter. So I by IC that will be the multiplier power of the shunt, and if we this is the arrangement by which the current can be measured. So and the range of the ammeter that can be extended by this way. Now the shunt may be two type. One is a multiple shunt, another type of shunt is a universal shunt. In multiple shunt, different types of resistance are connected, and we have a switch. We can place this switch into any position of this resistance, so that the different resistance can be added with this system, so that different range can be selected. So this is the multiple shunt by which different range of the moving iron, the ammeter range can be selected by using this arrangement. Now in case of universal shunt, these resistance are connected direct, means total resistance that can be placed everywhere, by which we can get the meter range and we can place it in position 1, 2, 3, wherever we need, and this arrangement can be used for multiple range of ammeters. So here the multiple shunt and universal shunt that can be used, both can be used for multi-range ammeters. Next, I am just going to discuss the error occurred in the temperature error occurred in meters, basically ammeters. Here the shunt that is connected in parallel with the meter, and meter resistance and the shunt resistance that will change due to temperature changes in the system, and the temperature changes in the meter and the temperature changes in the shunt that will not be the same at the same time also. So now if we use the same material in the shunt as well as the coil, then the same metal if we use, then this kind of problem that can be eliminated. So generally in case of meter we use the copper. Now if we use the shunt as a copper, then that will be very bulkier in nature. So this method however is not satisfactory in practice, as the temperature of the two parts are not likely to change at the same time. So an additional thing I already discussed, that is the disadvantage of using copper shunts, that is very bulkier in size. So that's why we have to create an arrangement by which this temperature error can be eliminated, and this is the arrangement where we can use a swamping resistance. Basically a swamping resistance of manganese having a resistance of 20 to 30 times the coil resistance is connected in series, and the shunt is also made of manganese, so that kind of arrangement that can be eliminated this kind of temperature error. Since copper forms a small fraction of the series combination, so the proportion in which the currents would divide between the meter and the shunt would not change appreciably with the change in temperature. So this fact is illustrated with the following example. I am just going to give an example by which we can understand the matter very easily. So basically if we use a manganese shunt as well as manganese swamping resistance, the swamping resistance is 20 to 30 times higher than the meter resistance, then we can get the error that will be very less. So now a moving coil instrument whose resistance is 25 ohm gives a full scale deflection with a current of 1 milliampere, and this instrument is to be used with a manganese shunt to extend the range of 100 milliampere. So basically we want to extend it into 100 milliampere, and we now the calculate error caused by the 10 degree centigrade rise in temperature when the copper moving coil is connected directly across the manganese shunt, and a 75 ohm manganese resistance is used in series with the instrument moving coil. So here the temperature coefficient copper and manganese we have. Now first we will try to prefer the first case where there is no manganese shunt, only there is no manganese swamping resistance, only we have a manganese shunt that is parallelly connected with the meter. So now we will try to calculate the error, temperature error. So here the multiplying factor of the shunt is I divided by Im. We know the full scale deflection is 1 milliampere, and we want to extend it in by 100 milliampere, so that the multiplying factor that will be 100 by 1, that is 100. Now resistance of the shunt, that is RSH, that is equal to Rm divided by m minus 1, that I already discussed in previous slides. So that will be equal to 25 divided by 100 minus 1, so that will be equal to 0.2525 ohm. Now instrument's resistance for 10 degree centigrade rise in temperature, that the meter resistance RMT, that will be equal to 25 into 1 plus 10 into alpha. Alpha here the meter resistance is made by copper, and here the coefficient is 0.004, so the resistance will be 26 ohm. And the shunt resistance that we get, that is 0.2525, and due to the 10 degree centigrade rise, the shunt resistance will be 0.2525 into 1 plus 10 into the temperature coefficient of manganese is 0.00015, so that will be equal to 0.2529 ohm. Now the current IMT through the meter for the 100 milliampere in the main circuit, for the 10 degree rise in temperature, the IMT that will be equal to 100 into 0.2529 divided by 26 plus 0.2529, so that will be equal to 0.963 milliampere, but that should be 1 milliampere. So the normal meter current is 1 milliampere. So now error, that is 0.963 minus 1 into 100, that is minus 3.7% error that we will get. Now in the next arrangement, we will actually connect a swamping resistance, that is a 75 ohm resistance, in series with the meter, and same material that will be used for the swamping resistance as well as the shunt, that is the manganese that is used. So now here we have this arrangement. Now the total resistance of the meter here now Rm plus Rsw, that is the swamping resistance, that will be equal to 20 plus 75, that is equal to 25 plus 75, that is equal to 100, and here the shunt resistance RSH, that will be equal to Rm divided by m minus 1. So we already know the m value of m is 100, so here the 100 is the resistance, 100 divided by 100 minus 1, so that will be equal to 1.01 ohm. So now resistance of the instrument circuit for 10 degree rise in temperature, so the meter resistance that will be equal to 25 into 1 plus 10 into the meter resistance is basically made by copper, so that's why we have to select the temperature coefficient, that is 0.004, and 75, that is a swamping resistance that is made by the manganese, so we have to select the temperature coefficient of manganese, so 75 into 1 plus 10 into 0.00015, that will be equal to 101.11 ohm. Now the shunt resistance for this 10 degree centigrade rise, we get the shunt resistance as 1.01. So 1.01, 1 plus 10 into 0.001.015. So this is made by the manganese. So the resistance will be 1.0115 ohm. So now instrument current for this 100 milliampere in the main circuit for 10 degree centigrade rise in temperature. So IMT, that will be equal to 100 into 1.0115 divided by 1.101.11 plus 1.0115, that will equal to 0.9905 milliampere. So now error will be 0.9905 minus 1 into 100, that is minus 0.95%. So by using this kind of arrangement, the second arrangement means if we connect the shunt and the swamping resistance, if we connect with the same material, and the swamping resistance if we connect in series with the meter, and its resistance is very higher than the meter resistance, then the error that can be reduced. Previously, when the swamping resistance was not connected, its error was minus 3.7%. Now the error is only 0.95%. So this is the way by which we can eliminate the error, or we can reduce the error. So next is a voltmeter. This is the application of the permanent magnet moving coil instruments. So if we connect a series resistance with the meter, then the range of the meter voltmeter that can be expand. So here the voltage to the overall arrangement is capital V, and the voltage to the meter is small v, and the voltage through the resistance is capital V minus V, small v, and here the Ig amount of current is flowing through this assembly. So the voltage drop across the R, that is actually V minus small v, that is equal to Ig into R. So R, that will be equal to capital V minus V divided by Ig. Now dividing both sides for this equation 1, So R into Ig divided by small v equal to capital V minus small v divided by V. Then we get the small v as Rg into Ig, and the small v is the voltage drop to the meter, and the internal resistance of the meter is Rg. So small v that can be written as capital Rg into Ig. So that will be equal to V by V, capital V by small v minus 1. So capital V by small v, that is equal to 1 plus capital R by capital Rg. So this is known as the multiplication of this instrument, that is the voltage multiplication of these instruments. Now if we select the R, by selecting R we can change the range of V. So this is the arrangement by which we can extend or expand the voltage range of the voltmeter. Next, the advantages. The scale of this instrument is uniform, and the power consumption is very low, and its torque weight ratio I already discussed is very high, and there is no hysteresis loss. And disadvantage, this is costlier than the moving iron system, and it is not suitable for AC. It is only suitable for direct current only. So now the errors, following errors we have for this permanent magnet moving coil, due to the friction of the moving part and the temperature. Due to the temperature I already discussed, there may be some temperature error, and that can be eliminated by using swamping resistance we have to connect. And there may be some frictional error, and due to weakening of the permanent magnet with the passage of the time, we can get some error. So that can be also eliminated by carefully aging the magnet during the manufacture. During the manufacture, if we try to eliminate the aging of the magnet, so this kind of arrangement, that can be this kind of error that can be eliminated. An account of the thermoelectric EMF when they are shunted for the current measurement. So this error can be minimized with a well-designed shunt. So this is also an error. So now next we are just going to discuss the calibration of voltmeter. Basically we can use a potentiometer to calibrate the voltmeter. So this is the arrangement where we are applying some DC voltage, and here we have a voltmeter that we have to calibrate, that is parallelly connected with a pot, and here we are varying the potentiometer, the resistance. Due to that rheostat we have, and due to variation of this rheostat we will get some variation of voltage, and that voltage that can be seen into the voltmeter that we want to calibrate. And the potentiometer, from the potentiometer obviously we will get some output voltage. Now this voltage from the meter and the voltage from the potentiometer, that can be compared, and the voltage from the potentiometer, that will be the true value, and this voltmeter by this way that can be calibrated. So next is the calibration of ammeter. So here the ammeter is connected in series with a resistance, and this resistance that we know, basically this one is a standard resistance that is connected in series with the meter, and we obviously we will get the output voltage from a potentiometer. Say the voltage is Vs. As we know the value of Rs, then obviously we can calculate the I that is flowing through this meter. So we obviously will get a value of current from this meter, and we can calculate the current from the voltage we are getting from the potentiometer divided by the Rs, then that Is that can be get. So the Is is the true value of the current, and the value that we are getting from the ammeter, that may be compare, and due to by these we can calibrate the ammeter. So this is the arrangement by which we can calibrate the ammeter. Thank you. In this section we already discussed every part of PMMC. I already discussed the construction, operating principle, the torque equation of moving PMMC instruments, and as well as I discussed the applications of ammeter as and voltmeter, and I discussed already shunt, maybe a multiple shunt or the universal shunt, and the error related to ammeter due to temperature, that I already discussed, and I also discussed the advantages and disadvantages as well as different errors of these instruments. So that's all. Thank you.